Hey guys, how's it going? Jared from the Vinyl Corner, and today we are going to be doing another collection update video. So it's been a while since the last video, but yeah, I work two jobs and they're at very different parts of the day, so it's kind of hard to schedule in a lot of shooting time. But I am going to try and do this a little bit more because I do love doing this and it is very fun. It's just hard to find the time as of recent for me, but yeah, I have gotten obviously a ton of stuff since the last time, so let's look into it. So this first one was actually a late birthday present from my younger brother. He's a record collector as well, so he just told me to send him something I've been looking for a while, and he bought me this. This is Lightning Bolt's Hyper Magic Mountain. This is an original pressing, and I love Lightning Bolt. They're my favorite music duo of all time, and I've been really obsessed with trying to get a lot of their records. I know that they're going to be reissuing their entire back catalog soon, but I love the original pressings, especially like the early ones that were silk screened. And this one is actually hand etched, I believe. It's hard to see, but there is so much going on in the etching over there. But it's insane. This was a really amazing present. Like I said, Lightning Bolt is like one of my favorite musical things I've discovered in a very long time over the past couple of years, and this is just one of their better albums. I prefer Wonderful Rainbow, but this one is pretty much just as good, if not better in certain regards. But yeah, if you're into really psychedelic, colorful, noisy stuff, give these guys a shot. It's one bassist and one drummer, and they emit more noise than I've heard entire bands play. Next up, this was a Bandcamp purchase. This is Moynoc's Dreaming in a Dead Language. This is just some really cool black metal. It touches a lot of different styles of it. It's a really tight album. The band has a lot of great chemistry together. And I've been trying to keep metal on my radar more this year. I've been listening to a ton of new metal releases. And this is definitely one of the better ones of the year so far. And this is on like a gold and black splatter vinyl. If I remember correctly, this was limited to like 400 on their Bandcamp or something. But yeah, if you guys are into black metal and you're looking for a new band with a lot of promise, definitely check these guys out. I haven't seen too many people talking about them, but I think they're really fantastic, and this is definitely one of the better things I've heard this year so far. Got a couple Discogs purchases next. This is a 10-inch clear vinyl of Kid 606 GQ on the EQ. Now, there's a better version of this album called GQ on the EQ Plus, but unfortunately that's not on vinyl. But yeah, this is a really fantastic EP of just some cool glitch music. Like I said, I prefer GQ on the EQ Plus, which is the more circulated version on like streaming services and stuff, but unfortunately that does not have a vinyl press as of the shooting of this video. But yeah, I really love GQ on the EQ Plus, and I wanted to have something of his in my collection, and this seemed like a really cool piece. Again, it's a 10-inch, it's clear, and this labeling is really funny. I love like the lo-fi, like anime, American like thing going on there, and yeah, it's just really great glitch music. If you guys are into some just sporadic, kind of little bit noisy, but more glitchy electronic stuff, and you haven't checked that out, definitely do so. I didn't even know this existed until very recently, but as soon as it came into my mind that this existed, I had to buy it. This is music from Saharan Cell Phones. Now, obviously, a lot of people know this from Death Grips. That's how I know this music. They sampled it a ton on The Money Store. And I listened to this album after I had heard that they had sampled this, and I genuinely liked a lot of the music that was on here. It's just some really cool like world music that was recorded in like the depths of Africa and like all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting, really lo-fi. Again, obviously all this music is recorded very poorly, but I don't know, just me being a Death Grips fan and loving The Money Store as much as I do, like as soon as this like came into my mind that this was on vinyl, I had to own it, especially since there's only 2,000 copies of it. But it's just some really weird kind of glitchy world music from the Sahara, like parts of Africa. It was put out by Sahel, who's a really nice label for compilations for this kind of stuff. So yeah, this was limited to 2,000 copies as well, and it comes with this really awesome sheet where it kind of gives you like background on the people that were making this and like the bit rates and stuff that these were saved by. But yeah, it's really cool that they included this little information, because a lot of like world music, some of the context and stuff really adds a lot to the making of the music and how much I enjoy the music. And the fact that they went this extra little bit and actually included information about these people and their backgrounds is really awesome to me. So yeah, if you guys are into Death Grip's weirdo world music, kind of lo-fi electronic-y world music, definitely give that one a shot. Next up, this is Bridget Fontaine's Come a la Radio. This is just one of my favorite records of all time. I've only found this record in the last year, but I've just become so overtly obsessed with listening to this album all the time. This is just some really beautiful chamber pop, kind of just really quaint pop, but it gets into a lot of really weird experimental territories. And like, originally this came with a sticker on the outside that said for fans of like Sonic Youth and Nico, and it's just like, it kind of is perfect for that kind of fan base, but it's like in a jazz context, and it's just really fantastic. This was put out by Superior Viaduct, who is like one of my favorite companies around for vinyl right now. Comes with a really simple lyric sheet. But yeah, this album is just absolutely amazing. Some of the best jazz music I've ever heard personally. It's really just kind of, as it's stated in like the genre tag with chamber pop, very kind of like it was recorded in a tube. It has this sense of closeness and like togetherness that's really interesting to me. And the labeling on here is really nice, very sleek on the one side there, and then there's that beautiful front cover image on the other. But yeah, this is just really fantastic stuff. Bridget has an amazing voice. She uses it to such great effect with her music. It's kind of high-pitched and nasally, but she can really get that thing stretching, and when she gets it going, it's really crazy and fun. So if you guys are into jazz music, I highly recommend this album. It's kind of one of the weirder masterpieces that I appreciate a ton. Another random Discogs purchase, this is Melt Banana's Fetch. Apparently they had restocked this album this year at some point in like a really weird limited quantity, and yeah, I love Melt Banana. They're one of my favorite bands of all time, and this is definitely one of their better releases. Here is all of the lyrics on there. I love the drawing, and again, on the back, some of the production credits in that front cover picture, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, Melt Banana, crazy noise band, just blistering fast. But on this one, they kind of went a little bit more poppy, and they embraced a lot of the more interesting, beautiful, uplifting sides of their sound instead of going for complete ferocity, which they do, but it's a little bit more toned down here. It's a lot more fleshed out, like musically in a lot of other regards. So yeah, can't really highly recommend Melt Banana enough. They're one of my favorite groups out there. This was a pre-order, and this is the Shoo Shoo Girl with Basket of Fruit purple vinyl. This is by far my favorite thing I've heard this year. It's pretty much going to go unrivaled until some of my most anticipated releases like Swans and Lightning Bolt and potentially Melt Banana are going to be dropping. But yeah, Shoo Shoo is in this insane second wind of his career because it's pretty much just Jamie Stewart with a revolving lineup. Just making some of the most insanely bold, brilliant, beautiful, mind-boggling experimental music around. This album is just all over the place. It's like industrial, but it's got so many insane elements thrown into it. This is the inner sleeve here, all the lyrics on the back, and this creepy picture on the front here. It also does come with a download card, which is always cool. But yeah, Shoo Shoo, I really don't know how to describe it. It's just insanely chaotic, like industrial-esque noise. He's tackling a lot of really heavy subjects on here. He does not take it easy. And yeah, like I said, this is the purple vinyl edition, and I got this pretty much as soon as the pre-orders went up for it. It's this beautiful kind of like marbled purple. It's really, really cool. So yeah, if you guys are into experimental music, I'm pretty sure you know Shoo Shoo by now, but if you haven't, this is an absolutely amazing album. Definitely one of the best in his catalog. Probably, honestly, my favorite behind his cover of the Twin Peaks soundtrack. So yeah, I can't gush about it enough. This is definitely going to be very high on my list of albums for this year. One of my main goals for the year was to focus on buying less albums as a whole and focus on certain genres or sounds that I enjoy. So I've been buying a lot of black metal records, and this first one is Emperor Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk. This is a classic black metal record. I mean, Night Side Eclipse, excuse me, is a classic as well, but I think I might prefer this one just a tad. But yeah, this is just some of the most pure, ferocious, fantastic black metal out there. It is also on green vinyl. I believe these were limited, but I'm not sure exactly the number they were limited to. But yeah, if you guys are into black metal, I'm sure, again, you probably know about Emperor. They're like up there with Immortal, Dark Throne, and all of them as like some of the most essential bands in the genre. So yeah, I've just been trying to buy more black metal stuff because it's a sound I've been really enjoying over the past year. It's a genre I've been exploring a ton over the last year. And yeah, this still remains one of my favorite things I've heard from the genre. This was something I was very happy to get my hands on. This is Immortal's Pure Holocaust. This is the Season of Mist repress, which is on an insane splatter vinyl, and it was limited to 300 copies. But yeah, this album is just one of the best black metal records out there, and look at this splatter. I don't think I can do this justice. This is pretty much by far the coolest looking record I have in my collection. I mean, it's just so cool to look at. And again, the fact that it's with a black metal record, it's kind of ironic and hilarious. But yeah, these were Season of Mist exclusives. I just so happened to pick one up through Discogs for a really, really nice price, pretty much retail for what they were over there. So yeah, this is just some classic black metal, you know, like that French wave of black metal. And these guys were just some of the most consistent in their day. I mean, Sons of Northern Darkness and some of their other works are just so fantastic. So yeah, this is just a great album, a classic for black metal, and if you're trying to get into the genre, a very easy one to start out with. More black metal for the collection. This is Celtic Frost to Megatherion. This is just really great early black metal stuff, you know, like that first initial wave of stuff, getting into the second wave with like the Norwegian stuff. But yeah, this is just a really classic early example of what black metal was and what it would become in the future. And this is a recent repress. It's like a deluxe edition. It's got like this cool little poster. It's also got another poster of like the entire band, which is really cool. But yeah, again, this is just some really good stuff. If you're trying to get into black metal, this is a really great album to start out with. Tears in a Prophet's Dream is like one of the most interesting and like weird black metal album or songs I've ever heard. And what's cool about this is it actually comes with this gigantic art book, just talking about like all of the production credits, like context and stuff like that. This is like a heavy ass book, and yeah, it's really cool that black metal is getting the justice it deserves with like editions like this for albums. And both sleeves come printed with lyrics and or art on them. There's some art on this one right here. But yeah, this is just a great early black metal album. Again, it's really great beginner stuff, so if you're trying to get into the genre, this is a good place to start. I talked about them earlier, and I'm going to talk about them again. This is Lightning Bolt's Wonderful Rainbow. This is an original pressing that I bought for myself on Load Records. And yeah, like I said, just one of my favorite groups ever. Some of my favorite music ever made. Especially this one. This is like god tier album for me. This is the original. It comes with this little like cool slip of paper that has like the track listing on the one side and all the credits on the other, the recording credits and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, this is just a drummer and a bassist, and the bassist plays the lead, but he's like probably my favorite bassist of all time. Brian Gibson is an absolute genius. He's playing that thing with ferocity, with speed, with mathematics. It's just, I don't understand how both of their brains calculate so fast, and I love the disconnect, but like the also togetherness that they have, where Chippendale on the drums is so ferocious, chaotic, and fast, but Gibson is so calculated and cold, but he's adding so much texture. It's just an amazing musical experience, and I can't recommend this album enough. This is one of my all-time favorites. My Swans fanaticism continues with buying Michael Giraz's solo project as well as Jarbo's solo project, Sacrificial Cake for Jarbo and Drainland for Michael Giraz. This is a very hard vinyl to find. It was made, again, in the time where vinyl really wasn't popping at all. So, yeah, this is a really, really cool piece for me to have. I actually had a problem with this initially. The person shipped it to me and it was in way worse condition than was stated, but I got a refund, and it was really just some minor stuff with the cover, which I don't mind. I mean, I really don't care. But yeah, this is an original Alternative Tentacles virus pressing of this release, and yeah, this was made right around the time that Swans was about to disband, 1995. Michael Giraz was going into his own, Jarbo was doing her own thing, and yeah, I love both of these albums. Drainland was like a really cool leading into Angels of Light type of thing, where it was more folky and acoustic, but still had that dark atmosphere, but it tended to focus on a lot of other themes of like love and trying to do different things than just the hatred that was with Swans. And Jarbo's album is just this really cold, industrial, just kind of scary experience. And yeah, it's just really fantastic. Like I said, it's an original pressing, and it comes with this cool little double-sided poster I'm not going to unfold, and it is 3 records. I believe it is 2 for Jarbo's and 1 for Michael Giraz. And yeah, I got a pretty good deal on it. I mean, like I said, the sleeve isn't in the best condition by any means, but this record is not hard to find. I don't think it'll be repressed for a very long time due to some rights issues and such. I hope I'm wrong, because Swans has been pressing a lot of stuff that I didn't think they would ever press, and it's really exciting. So if the day ever comes where they repress these, I will definitely buy them. But to have an original and to get it for a pretty good deal was really happy for me and for my Swans collection. So these next couple things all come from the place I work. I pick up records there sometimes, not all the time, but this is actually something that they held for me. This is Guitar Hero Series Volume 2 with Robert Fripp. Now, this isn't even a record. This is actually a laser disc. But I'm just an enormous King Crimson fan, and they know that, and they tend to try and put aside weird oddities like this that I may not have. So yeah, this is actually a pretty rare laser disc. They gave it to me for a really good price, and I don't even have a Laserdisc player. I only have this and the Reservoir Dogs one, and the Reservoir Dogs one was given to me for free. So yeah, I don't plan on collecting Laserdiscs, but I'm just a King Crimson fan, and this is a piece I don't think I've ever seen before. The next thing I picked up was this Exorcist soundtrack. This is an original pressing on Warner Brothers. And yeah, this is just really fucking weird music. I mean, obviously it goes along with The Exorcist, so it is weird, but having Mike Oldfield and then some like classic like symphony driven shit is really creepy, and it's really eerie and just kind of avant-garde as hell, and I love it. I never realized until I listened to this on its own like how much soundtrack there really was in The Exorcist. I always forget about that part of the movie. But it's really made me want to rewatch it and evaluate it with the music more in mind. And yeah, this is just some really crazy shit. If you're into like modern classical avant-garde stuff, definitely pick this up. And if you're into Mike Oldfield, this is a must-buy. Very happy to finally find a nice copy of this. This is Genesis, selling England by the pound. This is by no means like a rare record, but I really haven't seen it at too many stores besides repressings and stuff. And finally ran across at, if not a first pressing, a very early pressing of it, the Atlantic label there. But yeah, this is just some really classic prog rock. These is like the foundations of the genre. And this is when Genesis was good, before Phil Collins came in, made like a couple okay things, and then ruined one of the greatest prog bands that ever lived. But that's okay. Peter Gabriel went on to have one of the best solo careers ever, so we win in the end. Another random thing I picked up at the place I work, this is Anderson .Paak's Oxnard. This was one of my favorite albums of last year. If you guys didn't see my top 50 list on Instagram, go check that out. I will leave my in the description. But yeah, this is just a really consistently great neo-soul, West Coast G-Funk hip-hop album. Obviously, overheaded by Dre. This is like one of his newer artists that he's put on. So yeah, this is just a great album. I feel like as a whole piece, this is a lot more consistent than Malibu, but I also really like the difference in the different styles of Malibu more than this one. But yeah, I mean, Anderson .Paak, he's just really going strong. All of his releases so far I have enjoyed very thoroughly, and he's releasing another album in April, so quick turnaround, but I'm very excited to see what he's going to be doing with that because I pretty much like everything he's put out so far. Next up, we got Tim by The Replacements. This was something that came into our store, and it's kind of hard to focus on, but this is actually a promotionally stamped copy. This is an original press. So yeah, this is a very cool piece. This came into our store, and I had some trade credit for some things I brought in, and I copped this when it came in, and shout outs to the Rebel Gaming Club, specifically the beautiful Dan. I know this is one of his favorite albums, and yeah, this is just a really cool piece, and anytime I listen to this, I think of him and that amazing group of people. But yeah, this is just an original copy, really beautiful shape, really cool that it's promotionally stamped. I love The Replacements. They were a really great mix of heartfelt emotion, punk, making it poppy, but still having that attitude and that visceral emotion behind it. So yeah, this and Let It Be are like two amazing records, and very stoked to have this one. Also, with my trade credit, I bought this. This is Prince Sign of the Times, an original on Paisley Park Records, and yeah, it's another promotionally stamped one. So yeah, this was a really cool thing that came into the store. This is my favorite Prince album. Just absolutely adore this record, and again, the fact that it was promo pressed was really dope, and yeah, so I actually, after these came in, I got rid of my repress copies of Tim, and I got rid of my repress copies of Sign of the Times. But yeah, again, original comes with these beautiful, iconic inner sleeves, especially this one. This one is fucking iconic beyond belief to me. But yeah, absolutely amazing record, just all over the place pop. It goes so many different ways, but it's so beautifully put together. Prince is just an absolute genius, and I miss him. Also, with my trade credit, I got Strange Celestial Road by Sun Ra. This is an original on Rounder Records. Yeah, I've been slightly into Sun Ra for a while. You know, I know like the classic albums and stuff like that, but I had never really deep dove into it. So when this came in, I definitely knew I wanted to grab it. I've heard things about this album, and you know, I listened to it and I absolutely adore it. This is just some insane spiritual, like space jazz. Just really fantastic stuff going on here, and yeah, I mean, Sun Ra was just kind of known for pushing the limits of like avant-garde ideas, like spirituality in music, like the costuming, like all that kind of stuff. It was really iconic, very important to the jazz movement, and yeah, I definitely would like to get more Sun Ra stuff. Obviously, it's not the easiest to find used, but yeah, very happy to have this one. And the next two things I also got with the trade credit, I had a lot of doubles of stuff, and I had been given a lot of records by family and friends that I didn't care about. So, yeah, I turned them around and treated myself. So this is, I'm not even going to pronounce this, by Philip Glass. I have been obsessed with Philip Glass. You guys probably have heard me talk about it if you follow me on Insta or on here. But yeah, I've just been listening to like everything I can by him and buying everything I can from him, and he just doesn't fucking disappoint. And this might be my favorite Philip Glass project. I hadn't heard this one, but as soon as I put the needle on and it started going, it was just like I was transported to another fucking dimension of beauty and insanity of modern classical music. So yeah, this is an original pressing, I believe. And yeah, this is just really cool. Yeah, this is an Antilles press. So very cool stuff. Like I said, Philip Glass, if you're into modern classical music, I mean, you're into Philip Glass. It's kind of hard not to be into modern classical and not be into Philip Glass. But the dude's just an absolute genius. He's a sound auteur. Anything he puts his stamp on is just automatically his, and you can just tell, and it's so intriguing, and it gets my brain moving in such a fun, invigorating, and stimulative way. This was definitely probably my favorite thing I bought with my trade credit. This is Diamanda Galas's self-titled album. If you don't know Diamanda Galas, she is an absolute insane person when it comes to music. she was doing some of the most insane, just like vocal kind of synthy noise stuff. She was just absolutely crazy at everything she was doing, and this is an original on Metal Language Records. This is a extremely hard album to find on vinyl, and I had let it sit in our store for a couple days thinking if I wanted to use my trade credit towards it, and I was very happy I did. I had actually never heard this until I bought it, so I was taking a huge chance, but I love the Litanies of Satan, so I took a chance, and this is definitely one of my more favorite pieces in my collection. This is just really early noise stuff, and obviously you guys know me, I love my noise. So this is just a really hard to find record, a kind of cornerstone for this early movement. And I mean, she's just a badass. She's screaming her brains out. She's doing some of the most like clickety like vocal delivery. It's just really head rattling stuff, and it's just boundary pushing in so many regards. The next four things all come from Repo Records. I was there seeing Daughters in concert, and my friend and I got there super early, so we decided to go record digging, and I found some cool stuff, including this Dead Kennedys Halloween 12-inch. This is an original on Static and Alternative Tentacles. If I remember right, this is like an Italian pressing. I can't quite remember if this was Italian or US or wherever this was. But yeah, this is just really cool. Obviously, Dead Kennedys, my favorite punk band, like them in Crass pretty much at this point in my life. And literally just anything I can get my hands on from the Dead Kennedys, I will buy. They had that record store day thing where it was like the rehearsal tapes, but I was already buying so much, so I decided to get this one instead of the rehearsal tapes because obviously this is a much cooler piece. One of my favorite Dead Kennedy songs off of a punk masterpiece. So this was just really cool. I think I paid like $11 for it. Next up is this repress of Nina Simone's Pastel Blues. I've been meaning to add some Nina to my collection for a very long time. She's been someone I've loved for a long time. I just never ran across her records out in the wild, and I just decided to finally get a repress of one of her best, if not her best. Nina, her story is so inspiring. The context of her in the music industry during the time she was makes me love the music in her even more. She was so bold, just so about the music and using it as a voice for the unheard, and she just did it in such a fucking amazing way. I mean, she was black, she was part of the LGBTQ, she had a really manly voice. She just had so much going against her in society in the 50s and 60s, but she overcame it, and through her absolute love of music and putting herself in her music, she made some of the best jazz of all time, some of the most essential jazz of all time. And I mean, Sinnerman on here is one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. It's 10 minutes of absolute soul-crushing reflection on society, and it's just a beautiful fucking album. I can't rant about how much I love this woman. The second to last thing I picked up at Repo, this is Serge Gainsbourg's History de Melody Nelson. I know I didn't pronounce that in French at all, but that's okay. This album is amazing, and it has some of the best melodies of all time, hence the title, and Serge Gainsbourg was a genius. Infusing pop, classical ideas into these just beautiful showcasings of how to do melody and music. It's just absolutely fantastic. This is a Light in the Attics repress, and this vinyl is heavy as fuck. I don't know if it's 180 gram or 200 or what. It feels a lot heavier than 180, but it sounds absolutely beautiful. The only thing about this album is it is mixed very low, so you do have to crank it on the system, which is kind of annoying, but it's like whatever at the end of the day. But yeah, this is just a really essential album in my personal opinion, especially if you're trying to get down what a melody is and trying to understand that concept. It was really important for me in that regard. And yeah, it comes with this cool little booklet here talking about the album. It has a Q&A session in here, so yeah, I actually didn't get to read this yet, but that's really cool. It has all the lyrics on the back, so Very great stuff. This album is just fantastic. If you guys are trying to get into French pop music, if you're trying to understand the idea of melody in music, this is an essential album. It's a really quick album, but it's absolutely breathtaking and just hair-raising every time. This was an album I stupidly didn't have, and this is J Dilla's Donuts. This is one of my favorite hip-hop records of all time. This is an album that, whenever I listen to it and think about Dilla and everything that was going on when recording this album, it genuinely makes me very emotional. It just gives me endless inspiration that this guy with a rare blood disease was making something so artistic while in a hospital bed, and instead of trying to focus on getting better, he was just like, I don't care, I'm going to make music in my hospital bed and have my friends bring me records, and I'm going to make one of the most poignant, soulful, human albums ever released. And yeah, Dilla was just obviously a genius. I mean, the way he samples music, the way he put it together, the production of it, how clean and how beautiful everything sounds. It's just really a amazing album. It's one of those albums that touches me very deep anytime I listen to it, and it'll forever be an album I go to in times of reflection. So I have one more, but this one actually has a story, or else I don't think anyone would believe that this happened to me. But my sister-in-law called me one night and told me that she was cleaning out a storage unit and that she had found a box of records. And so she brings them to me when we all have like a family gathering, whatever. Flipping through it, it's mostly like water damage to absolute shit, like ECM jazz records, Ibrahim Weber, stuff like that. One record somehow made it pretty much scot-free from water damage, and this is an original US press of Nick Drake 5 Leaves Left. Now, it does have this damage down here, but for the price of free, I'm not going to complain at all about getting an Antes press of Nick Drake 5 Leaves Left. I mean, this record's like $80 to $100 if it's in okay shape, so the fact that the vinyl of this is pretty much pristine and it's just a little bit of cover damage, I could give less of a fuck, dude. So yeah, this is probably the craziest thing I've ever been given. I've already thanked my sister-in-law like a million times, but thank you again, Pavan. You are fantastic, and I appreciate you. And this is definitely one of my favorite pieces in my collection. The only downside is now I want an original Pink Moon and original Brighter Later, and those are expensive. So yeah, one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me, you know, record karma. You know, I give away a lot of records to friends, you know, instead of selling them and getting money, sometimes I just give them away. But the way the universe works, especially with record collecting, from what I've noticed, is that if you give, you shall receive eventually. And shit like this just shows me that all the records I've given away mean something in the end, and that they will come back to me in some sort of regard. So yeah, that is everything I picked up, guys. Let me know down below what was your favorite thing that I picked up. Also, let me know what your favorite thing you've picked up recently was. And while you're down in the comments, check that description box, hit all those links, like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, guys, have a nice day.